gonna do we're gonna piggyback off of. Let me get this thing because I just started the recording session on Zoom. Everybody doing the open. Craig Stiles gonna be with me. My second guest since the demise of my dad, and it's going to be a topic that we're going to cover today on the show, everybody. So bear with me because, Jane was here last week, and then Craig's here this week, and Craig and I have already talked about this. And so it's,
Hmm.
it's just these things that we go through. I'm kind of talking to Craig, talking to the camera, talking to myself. It's like, you know what, guys, when you go through this stuff with your parents, there ain't no freaking easy way.
No,
It,
it's not. It's
it's just
not.
it was just one of those where I'm going to get through this. And because of the resiliency that we have developed over time, that makes a massive, massive difference. And so, hey, Craig, how are you?
Doing well, Tom. How are
Let's,
you doing?
let's bring it down. Let's talk
Yep,
about, but hey, it's all good, man. So,
it is. It is. Having gone through it with my own dad just a couple years ago. I haven't gone through it with my father-in-law a little north of, gosh, it's going on 13, 14 years now.
it's the
Yeah.
Dave DeMarco
And
thing,
both,
wasn't it?
yeah, and Dave DeMarco's family as well. Yeah.
No,
Going
but I
through the whole
mean the whole when you and Dave got tight after the demise of your father-in-law.
father-in-law. Yep.
Yep, yep. Dave's told that story before, and
Yep. Yep.
it's the craziest stuff. And so that's life, man. Life is crazy. That's
Well,
why,
I not to play pun on, but none of us have got out of here alive.
well, and the thing
Just
this is why you got to have everything lined up. You got to have your
yep,
values lined up. You got to have your faith in yourself and whatever you want to believe in. We don't do the religious thing on this show,
yep,
but to be perfectly honest, Craig is a very religious person, and I respect that totally. I mean, I love the
yep,
guy because of that. And my dad was a very, very, very spiritual person. So, hey, to each his own, have your own balance, and
yep.
hopefully, again, resiliency. But Craig, what I did was I put down kind of a temporary title here: parents and their
Hmm.
process prep. I might call it
Yep.
process prep: parents and their demise. But I have three bullets to myself: long or short, medium, long term. All these goals that go into this process. And I figured, well, this is going to be, you know, for our 23rd visit with you, it's like, okay, we're going to go real life today, and
Right.
let's just roll and just see where it goes and have some fun. And you and I,
Make the best out of it, right? Because the
make
only the only way the only way you can enjoy life is by actually enjoying life,
it's,
right?
it's, the joy so far that was completely out of nowhere, everybody, was meeting my dad's neighbors. And because he was such a pillar in the neighborhood,
Hmm.
that was just so unbelievable. And plus, then they turned me on to all of the connections,
Hmm.
because for all the viewers out there that are watching this intro video, um, my dad was he was the older grandfather, white guy, what it was, in an Arab neighborhood on the very borderline of Dearborn, Detroit. And if
Hmm.
you know Dearborn, Michigan, you know that Dearborn, Michigan is very, very nice, and it's very, very Arab. And it's totally cool. And the people are just amazing. So they have been so helpful, and I just appreciate them all very much. So,
Yep.
and actually, we're going down to dinner on Saturday night. We're driving to Detroit, or Dearborn, actually, to have dinner with a family that helped my dad a lot, just to continue the healing process and continue his legacy, because I'm going to help some of the daughters that are trying to figure out how to get college figured out and all that
Yep.
good stuff. And so, just we parlay. I told this woman, Craig, because they love my dad so much, and they said, God, you're just like your dad. You're just like their dad. I said, listen, I said, I always call him the Francis. I said, the Francis gave me my foundation, but I am the Francis on steroids. And so we took this, he gave me the foundation to just
Yep.
do
Build off of.
all of this stuff. So
Yep. To build
about him,
off of. Absolutely.
about him.
Yep.
That's why I did that video saying, thanks, Dad, for my life, so that's
Yep.
It's all good. So let's get rolling here. And how's that sound to you, Craig, for the
Sounds good.
Okay.
Sounds good.
I'm so good at this stuff. We'll talk off air,
Yep.
off everything about other things too. So
Yep.
let's get it, bad boy. And everybody, welcome to the Tom Matt Show. Here we go with Craig Styles and his 23rd visit. Let's rock it.
Wow, 23 hasn't been that many already. Holy cow.
Yeah, man. You should have this down. You should be interviewing me. What's my dad talk videos, by the way? Oh yeah, that's right. I'll talk to you about that off there. They're getting popular. Here we go.
There you go.
Last week, Alyssa was back. Alyssa Guadani, and I love that girl so much. You know, Sandy and I we just adore. She was. Hold on. Let me recap that. Hold on, I got to restart this thing here. Dang it, I wrong. Fucked up. God dang it.
Sorry.
That's all right. My fault.
Remember, I'm laughing with you, not at you.
I know.
Okay, maybe I am laughing at you, but that's another point.
I'll do is I'll restart this session. That's what I've done before. I'll exit out of here. File. Shoot. Quit. I'm going to start it again.
Technology with Tom Matt. Reboot.
Yeah, I'm going to restart the session. Get it right the first time. Don't screw up. That's my tip for, as we're still recording the Zoom thing, you guys. And this has happened occasionally where Tom goofs up. Just when if you're doing a show, podcast, whatever, expect the unexpected. TMS, and have your file structure.
Wow, wait a minute. Expect the unexpected. I think I've heard that before. Let me think about that for a minute. Yeah, I've heard that before.
Probably where I stole it from.
Well, we always have to be prepared for the unexpected in some form or another. Absolutely. Trying to, right?
All right, so let me click here. Make that bigger. Let me do this. It's all good. I don't let, and I'm talking to the viewers now, Craig. Because I just can't let this kind of stuff get under your skin. I mean, you just got to roll with it, man. Again, resiliency. We're going to talk a lot about resiliency. I'm writing that down. Okay, here we go again.
Here we go again.
Longest opening video segment yet
in history. Let's go for the Guinness Book of World Records. We can do this.
Crossing bridges here. Here we go, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, and away we go. This is a professional.
You're gonna get me probably going on the giggles or something quickly.
See how my guest does this, everybody, when we start this radio program. Mitch will probably cut all this out. That's fine. Welcome to the Tom Edge Show, this week's episode with Craig Styles. Last week, Jane Kurth was here, and she helped me get through that. She was the first show since the demise of my dad, and it's really challenging. And now Craig is here to help me again, and we're going to talk about some of the things that occurred with my pops, and how it can help you through our stories, because that's what we do here. You know, we just share all of our intimate stories because it's like we're all family. That's the way. So Craig Styles, you know, he's been here. This is his 23rd visit, received his Bachelor of Science Industrial Engineering from Arizona State University. Probably don't need to do all this bio stuff with this guy. Just know Desideri, listen to this program, go to our website, tommattshow.com, go to financial fitness, and that's where you'll find Craig, 22 shows of Craig. And anything you want to know about financial stuff, like today's episode is going to be different, but he's got his MBA, concentration in finance, goodness, because he's our finance guy from Western Michigan University. And again, full disclosure, as I will say in our segment 2 read, is Craig is our guy. He handles all of our refirement zone savings. Thank goodness. Seems like it's doing pretty well too. Imagine that. We got it with the guy. It's like, hey, I'll tell you a funny story here later after we get through this quick bio. Craig applied his analytical skills to address and resolve financial issues. He created Decideri Analytics. It's a phenomenal tool to help navigate this complicated world that we live in. He makes financial decisions based on these principles: discipline, trust, discipline. He is the man, and he is also a servant leader. So resides in Williamston with his wife, Steph, and who knows how many kids. I mean, let Craig take it from there because he knows the drill here with this radio program. Craig Stiles, how many children reside in that giant house of yours out there in Williamston?
Well, does that include or exclude friends?
No, that's what I mean. That's exactly, you knew where I was going with this. It's like, okay, so when you have your open houses, like you just had, was it
Yeah.
Miriam's open house?
Miriam's Little House, yep.
And so how many people came to that? Because we were out of
Oh
town.
gosh.
How-
Yeah, we
how-
had it scheduled from 4 to 7 in the afternoon, like most people will have. And basically we had probably about 400 to 500 people come through. And a lot of it is just some of the homeschooling communities. But what was beautiful about the event, more specifically, was it was done in conjunction with one of my daughter's close friends. And so we have a lot of mixture of friends amongst the two kids. And as the night was going on, gosh, families with young kids were still there at 9:30 in the evening. And so the aspect of the welcoming of all the families together, having a good time. I mean, it was a beautiful day weather-wise. And then basically as the families were leaving, if you will, a little bit later on in the evening, the younger kids, or I should say the teenagers, are staying on. We have a sport court off the north side of our house. So you had 20 kids, 30 kids, 40 kids playing volleyball and swapping out teams and figuring out new games to play. And it was of all ages. So you'd have, kids in their early 20s who have known kids who are in their mid to late teens. And then you'd have them including younger kids that are 10, 11, 12 years old and building the teams out. It was just a fun dynamic to watch all the kids kind of get together and play. And then the parents kind of observe and just have an enjoyment watching kids interact and be together. So yeah, with all of my kids being home this summer, we have our 11 kids were there. And then we have a couple of other kids who are staying with us. One of is from out of Kansas, a friend of my son Charlie's, moved to Michigan for the summer and was able to get a job because the income was here's a little more. And then we have another family friend, their daughter is staying with us, working on a local farm in order for her to gain experience working with horses. So yeah, I guess we have 15, 16 people staying with us over the summer. So yeah, and then you sit there and think about having evening dinners. Okay, we'll have like 20 20 people or whatever it might be. Yeah, so it's definitely energetic. There's a lot of energy in our home, a lot of energy.
Okay, I want to add two things here. First off, the sports court. Craig Stiles, our guest today, everybody, resetting this thing. We're going to call this process prep parents and their demise, talking about my dad's demise, Francis, who was a couple of weeks ago. And by the time this show airs, it'll be about 6 weeks. But well, I gotta mention two things that Craig I'm just going to comment on. His sports court that he's talking about, everybody. It's a little more than a sports court. It's like it's like something you see at an NBA millionaire's home. It's that it's and I'm giving you a huge compliment here, Craig. You know that, but
Yeah.
it's a beautiful setup. And how much is your food bill?
Oh gosh.
I
Well,
mean,
it all depends. We've transitioned and changed quite a bit, right? Because as you know, we have our own chickens. We raise chickens. My wife just dropped off this
God,
morning. Ted, we dropped off 10 meat chickens to be processed. So we have probably another 40 to 50 meat chickens to be processed yet a little bit later on. And then we have probably 7 or 8 cows right now out in the back that will be processing. We have 2 that are probably going in this fall. We have 2 that went in earlier in the spring. So yeah, the aspect of how we go about getting our own food right now is, one, it's a couple of different dynamics. It's a great experience for the kids, for them to be able to raise the animals. My wife loves the aspect of having a garden that we have. She works diligently on, gets the kids more involved in it. And then the aspect of them going out and just picking off of fresh fruits and vegetables, if you will, and eating it. It's a wonderful thing. Kids know where their meat's coming from. They know where their vegetables are coming from. It's just a positive experience all the way around. And then the cost of being able to maintain them, where you got to get your food. Yeah, honey. Gosh, we've got 3 or 4 different hives right now. I think 5 hives that my daughter Miriam is processing, as well as she's
That
doing
one
it for a
too?
couple of others.
Does Miriam
So
run that aspect of the farm as well?
yeah, pretty much at the present time. We'll see what's going to be transpiring, but she's taken a summer off. She has been accepted to 2 different colleges, Benedictine College and Oklahoma State, and Benedictine's offered her a scholarship. We'll see if Oklahoma State has some funds to help, or that they might be able to offer as well. We'll see. But right now she's taking a year off, taking some classes at the local community college
Sure.
and in business. And she has a strong connection within the horse community with a lot of the ranchers and whatnot locally. So we'll see where she wants to get into animal husbandry. We'll see where that goes. And my other kids, Charlie, he's rising junior and in mechanical engineering at Benedictine College. My son Christian just graduated from college just this last spring. So he's been working all summer in landscape and construction there. So he's putting some applications out there for some work. We'll see where that leads them. And Michaela is studying opera down at Florida State University. So she's graduated from Hillsdale with a degree in economics, but her passion's in music. We'll see where that goes. So she's had some gigs, if you will, that she sang at earlier this year. And so, yeah, we have definitely a pretty busy household. This is fair week. So Michaela or Miriam got to show her cow. So she did that. It was the first time she did that. She did pretty well. It was kind of exciting for her to be out there with her cow and get some support from the family, because all of us were there to support her. And then we had some nice time just staying at the fair, watching the kids ride around. And it's fun again to watch the older kids embrace and take the younger kids and go and do things with them. And to see that you can really tell when you're watching other siblings or even other families that you see out there, where they kind of aggregate together, and where you see older siblings taking care of younger siblings. And it's a beautiful thing to see, especially when you're in like a fair environment.
All right, we're gonna
So
take a pause here. That was a great jumping off spot and a nice story catching up. This is Craig's life with the fam. And if you just think of raising kids is challenging, but it's also so rewarding when things line up.
mhm.
Hope that we can help you line things up. Craig's here. Parents and their demise, process prep, talking about my dad, talking about resiliency, financial fitness with my pal, my bro,
Mhm.
Craig Styles. I'm Tom Mann. All right, cool. Hey man, enjoy your company and enjoy you as my friend. And so it's like, and then to top it off, everybody, in between segments, guess what? This segment's going to be sponsored by Craig Styles. There you go, baby. I love it. So great.
Yeah, as you can say, I still got my band on for the county fair. I haven't got permission from my wife to take it off yet, because we're going to a concert Friday night, and today's Wednesday.
Uh-huh.
So I've had this on since Monday. So I'm
Uh-huh.
like, can I take it off yet, honey, or not? I don't know.
Look like you escaped from the hospital. Here we go.
Yeah, I know. I may have, but don't tell everybody.
I won't.
It's not for my physical ailments. It might be more mental. Who knows?
Okay, here we go. Here we go. This segment sponsored by Ameriprise Financial and Craig Styles, your Ameriprise Financial Advisor. Our Ameriprise Financial Advisor, as I said earlier, Craig Styles can help you plan for the life you want today and well into the future. I got this card here in front of me, everybody, just to remind me of all the like the phone numbers and stuff. but Craig's been with us for so long and supported us for so long, and it's just been awesome. Here's some numbers. All right. We're going to talk to Craig about all kinds of good things. I want you to reach out to Craig because, again, full disclosure, as I said earlier, if you're just joining the show, all of our retirement zone savings, which seem to be doing pretty well, actually. I kind of like that. It's sort of like, hey, cool, man. And which, quick story, told Craig the other day when we were setting up this interview. Craig, don't be mad at me, but I just now, it's been almost a year now, and I just now opened the first email on, how we're doing. And portfolio looks pretty good. So he was pretty happy with that. With the right finance, with the right financial advisor, life can be brilliant. And I can absolutely tell you, guarantee you that, everybody, life is brilliant when you got a guy like Craig watching your stuff. 1-800-528-1355, 517-483-4853. Craig.styles@ampf.com. Offices are located at 2400 Lake Lansing Road, Suite B is in brilliant, or B is in Lansing, Michigan, 48912. Craig is the creator of Decidary Analytics, where we are making light of weighted decisions, and that's his proprietary algorithm. And I like to say, Craig came up with an algorithm before the term algorithm became kind of trendy, and now it's like overplayed, and they probably want to exit it out of the dictionary. But he was in it way. He saw all this stuff coming, and that's why we're so happy and proud to be with Craig, and just let him do his thing, man. So you can go do your thing. All right. Here are some of the stations in and out of the network. 92.1 FM, Grand Haven, WGHN, first to ever carry us on broadcast radio years and years ago. The flagship of the Michigan Talk Network, which we are part of, WJM 1240 AM in Lansing, WJRW 1340 in Grand Rapids, WKLQ 1490 Muskegon Whitehall, WYPV FM 94.5 Mackinac City, and of course our PBS affiliate at Michigan State University, WKAR 102.3 FM and AM 870 News Talk in East Lansing. Want to say thank you to Steve and Ivy Gruber for having the faith in us to put us on the Michigan Talk Network. And remember that we have 4 books on Amazon, that thing called Amazon, Generation Us being the latest and greatest. So back to our, our second segment sponsor is our guest today, another financial fitness episode. I love doing these, especially setting this up, everybody, upon my dad's demise recently. It's been a tough time. It's been rough. And it's like, having Jane on the first show recording post my dad's death, and now Craig.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is. It's part of the deal. And so that's why I called this one Parents and Their Demise Process Prep. Craig, and I appreciated that phone call we had, that long phone call. So you deal with this. You see this stuff. Okay.
Yeah, I'm on that side of the table, right?
Yeah,
From the aspect of, like I shared kind of even a little bit earlier on, having my dad pass away in 2019, and my mom passing away back when I was young. So my father-in-law passing away back in 2009, and each situation was a little bit different. From when my mom passed, too young to really understand and know what's going on, and then to my father passing and having Alzheimer's for several years and that kind of progressing, making sure things are already prepped and prepared, to my father-in-law passing suddenly in a boating accident. So from those dynamics, making sure you're prepared for the unexpected and making sure things are in order. Each one of those situations, at least the latter two, with my own family, understanding the change in dynamics, the impact that it has on family members, where your family is. How do you go about managing that whole process? How people respond to the passing of a loved one, and being able to deal with it, and having the patience to work with them through financial matters, because each financial institution may handle the distribution of assets a little bit differently, requiring copies of a death certificate where others require the actual death certificate, and work with the funeral home and making sure all the arrangements are made accordingly to how your parents' wishes wanted to be taken care of. And of course, when my father passed away, that was in December of 2019. And so, of course, that was the beginning of the whole COVID dynamic and situation. And so there was a lull where we didn't have a funeral right away, but then we had a memorial in his status, if you will. And that was only of family members and close friends. So it wasn't anything that was really major along those lines. Um, so dealing with each one of those situations, making sure that the items were in order to have as minimal impact for the surviving spouse, for the surviving members of the family, that becomes more aware when it actually is being implemented versus that of when people are talking, well, what do I need to do that for? Why do I need to have the trust? Well, don't I already have a power of attorney with you? And why do I need to sign these documents here to have just the power of attorney for your financial documents? Each situation is going to be a little bit different, and making sure that execution and the least amount of interruption occurs. I mean, even with my own mother-in-law, little things to understand. So we had a trust. My father-in-law had a trust in place. But our attorney, working with our attorney, suggested that we still open up probate. And so one of the reasons for opening up probate, even though everything was transitioning, was if there's ever a dispute against an estate, if you don't open up probate, a person can come back and an attorney would have to validate the time period. But roughly about 3 or 4 years, they could always come back to an estate to have a settlement or anything take place. But if you open up probate, once it gets put out there and it's made public, then it's like 30 days or 60 days or something along those lines. And then nobody can come back after the estate after that time period. So trying to explain that to my mother-in-law in some areas, she's like, well, I thought Bob just wanted to completely avoid probate, wanted to completely avoid it. This is, well, we are. There's only one item that's going through probate, and that's the automobile, because you can't really put something like that in it, and it doesn't make much sense to it. And so it's just the value of the automobile. And so it's just the aspect of having that opened up. And that would be one where you have an estate planning kind of attorney kind of sit down and talk about that process a little more. But being able to explain it to my mother-in-law, being able to explain it to the rest of the family, and then once everything is done and settled, it's taken care of. Being able to take care of bills right away. You know, if you have a loved one who's passed away and taxes are need to be paid, utility bills, yeah, utility bills, right, need to be taken care of. Yep, all of that stuff.
All of it's happening. Craig, we got a minute to
Yep.
go before break here. Let me reset this thing. What we're talking about today, everybody, with Craig Stiles, financial fitness guru, Ameriprise kingpin, and our guy. Parents and their demise process prep, and my dad's demise, if you're just joining us, was recently, and I am executor. Luckily, we do have a very simple will, but it's not everything. And
Right.
talk more about this, the just short, medium, and long. Craig just gave you a little snapshot of what he's gone through. Every situation, everybody, is different. Every situation is different. So having everything lined up is helpful, but it's still going to be a process. And as Craig said, and we'll go to break on this topic right here, managing the process. Craig Stiles, financial fitness, parents and their demise, process prep. I'm Tom Matt.
Mm.
Good. Great. Good story. Thank you, Craig, for sharing that
Yep.
story.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I mean, it's truly indifferent. I mean, from that, and even my dad's own passing, my dad's estate was a lot more simple. And
So,
so
okay, so where do you want to, what's the most logical way to take this? You want to continue with that, or we want to leave that now and go into short, medium, long-term planning or stories, or where would you?
from that we can touch base on how that was like on my mother-in-law's situation was different because she had trust and everything kind of established. And
Okay,
then for my father-in-law going forward, or my actual father, the aspect of what happened and what was expected from that situation, right?
continue
So
this story. So that's cool. That's cool.
right.
Also,
Yep.
fifth segment, we're going to do messages again, messages to my younger self. So if you
Okay.
got, or messages to the young people, what's the next
Yep.
thing? This might be the message. The
It
message
might
might be,
be. Well,
we're going to,
I could probably do the influence, being an influencer, being versus that of one who's easily influenced. So
that's great. Perfect. There we go. Okay, here we go. The simplest way to connect with us, everybody, is via our website, tommattshow.com, which has been evolving. It's been evolving. It continues to evolve. If you have a website and it doesn't evolve, then something's wrong, because you can, everything's changing. Technology, digital technology is always constantly upgrading. And we are now firmly entrenched with YouTube. We're on TikTok. There, that's all there. I never say that, but you know what? I
Mhm.
found it to be pretty useful tool. I mean, it's actually, there's a lot of people that may be slightly growing older. Hey, that's totally cool. I mean, it's very, the young people at Michigan State University, I give them a lot of credit for helping me kind of navigate and what the do's and don'ts. And so check them out. Please do. Whatever flavor of social media is yours, use it. We communicate across many platforms. I try to get every, you know, when I get messages in like Facebook messaging and Instagram and all these things, sometimes I kind of lose them a little bit. So bear with me. But the best thing to do is just go to the contact box on the website, because that goes
Mhm.
directly to Sandy, guys. So please go there if you would like, if you got a specific topic or comments or whatever, because this show is all about helping all of you and us. Believe me, believe me. And when I do my daily affirmational videos, which I do those now every day, put them up on TikTok and on Facebook and Instagram, about 50% of that is intrinsically to help my heart heal. And the other 50% is information for you to do with it however you want to do with it. So our mission is to build an engaged society and team. That's what we do here through this 3 C's of community, collaboration, and cooperation, sharing stories, just like we're doing with Craig Stiles is with us. Parents and their demise, process prep, talking about my dad, Francis Matt. If you don't know, if you were listening to the show and you didn't know my dad passed, he did on July 17th, and it was very sudden. And but he was 85 plus, and he lived a great life. And so it happens. And so, Craig,
Mhm.
we're going back to stories now because you've had several experiences with this. And this is a whole thing about getting people kind of to think about it, because people
Right.
don't want, I went to my dad to talk to him, which I so many my sister did the same thing. Karen did the same thing. She's great. He never wanted to discuss this whole
Right.
thing. It
Right.
was a really generational thing, Craig. I don't know how your experiences was with that. Let's continue the story because you have a depth of knowledge on this. Thank goodness that you're our guy and you can help us navigate this thing and just keep our heads from like, there's just so many things going on right now. Please go
Right.
ahead. Continue your story. I
Well,
love it.
just from the dynamic of my mother-in-law and my father-in-law situation, the formation of trust upon his passing, an irrevocable trust. You had a irrevocable trust. One trust was designed to care for my mother-in-law. The other one was to be used to pass on to the next generation, but could still be used for her care if needed be, from a long-term care facility for medical purposes, whatever it might be, so it doesn't completely deplete her living trust for her everyday living expenses. Well, when my father-in-law passed away a couple of years ago, his situation was different. His life was a little less complicated, for lack of a better term, and everything that he had in order, making sure accounts were, excuse me, jointly owned with my stepmom, and making sure that powers of attorneys and everything like that were in place for his medical power of attorney. All of those dynamics we had talked about early on when I was getting into the finance industry. My dad had a significant amount of debt as he was reaching into retirement, received an inheritance from his dad, and we ended up, all right, what do we need to do? Because he's never been involved investing before. He had a pension from the Michigan State Police and his Social Security and whatnot. So he was comfortable in establishing his income, but his income wasn't enough to pay off or pay down debt. So managing investments with his debt and utilizing the investments to make the payments on his debt as opposed to just chunking it down right away. He was actually able to utilize the investments to literally pay off his debt before he had passed, and from the income over years. That was able to pay that off eventually, yet then still allow him to have some money left over later on down the line. So that way, when those accounts were used for their specific purpose, and when my stepmom ended up kind of inheriting everything from my dad, she was pretty well positioned for her next chapter in life. And so being there for her, being there for even my siblings going through the whole transition in that process, it's a different transition, it's a different change. So it was kind of a um, it was every situation, like we talked about before, every situation is going to be a little bit different. Until you have that conversation with someone who knows and can give you some guidance as to, well, what to think about and what not to worry about, I encourage people to understand, at least attempt to understand how best to try to simplify your financial life going forward, because sometimes people make things more complicated than they need to be. And that, I think, becomes an important conversation to have. Like, what happens if you're joint or you have three joints? I've got two kids joint to my account with me. Well, what happens? Well, if one of the kids gets in a car accident and then it comes out that it was their fault, well, then that one child's with 1/3 of those assets can be brought in on a lawsuit. Maybe it's best to have those children powers of attorney, but only you own the account, right? Or have its thing structured as a trust. What do you put into the trust? What do you not put into the trust? Um, all of those dynamics of understanding what assets have been accumulated over time, how to generate income from the portfolio outside of pensions, outside of Social Security, all of that. So the dynamics of the different situations and where we find ourselves, I try to bring some comfort to clients when we're sitting there evaluating their current situations, not just looking at their financial structure and how that is done, but also looking at the physical structure of the accounts and how it's all tied together and making sure they're all matching up as best we can.
All of this is
So,
so vitally important, everybody. And you're listening to Craig. Craig Stiles is with us today, 23rd visit. Parents and their demise process prep is what I'm calling this one, because we're basing this around a very, it's a hard topic. And then believe me, having this conversation, and it's so fresh to me still, my dad's only been gone for 2 weeks, is still it's good to talk about, but it's also it's gut check time. And
yep.
Craig is spot on with all of this. Craig, the thing that that Sandy and I realized was somebody was going to have to be the point. I am the executor, so then I became point.
Hmm.
Thank goodness we had enough liquid savings to write checks,
Yep.
because now, until we get all of these other loose ends taken care of, not like he had a lot of, my dad did not have a lot of assets, but he's got
Right.
some. It's just a matter of filtering through all this, and you've got to go through these processes, everybody. So that's why you got to have these conversations, these crucial conversations, as they called it at Michigan State University when I was out there. These
Hmm.
crucial conversations you have with your parents and your children, because they need to know too, right, Craig? I mean, how
Yep.
often does that happen? We got 2 minutes to go before we go to break here. Just give you a heads up, but how often does that happen where a client like me or Sandy and I, bring their children in with them? Does that happen at all, or would you suggest that that happen, or how does that work?
I would say at this point in time, roughly about 40 to 50% of my clients who I speak with regularly have their kids engaged. It's at our encouragement in regards to it. Most of our, like, typically their oldest child or one that they find most financially savvy will be the power of attorney on their account. So we'll have communication with them. And so that, I would say, that's nice to have earlier rather than later, to where if you have for example, if we are establishing a power of attorney on a client's account, and if they push that off and then they ended up start having some early stages of Alzheimer's as an example, then that becomes an issue, because if a person starts having these phases and the cognitive ability for them to be able to sign a legal document diminishes. So that becomes more difficult, because you have to have documents like that need to be notarized, and you need to be in a proper state of mind that you're granting certain powers to your child. And then we always have to watch for abuse that may take place. So there's things that we have to advisors watch out for as well.
I want to circle back to that here. We're going to go to break here, everybody. Craig Stiles is with us. Parents and the demise process prep is what I'm calling this. I'm going to talk about some elder, hate to say
Elder
this, but
abuse, yeah.
elder abuse. We're going to talk about it, because, and then we're going to talk about some attorneys that we know together jointly. Craig Stiles here, financial fitness. It's a good one. It's always a good
Mhm.
one. Got it. The world is too complicated to leave these loose ends, everybody. So please stick around, and we'll bring you some more good info. Craig, Tom.
Mhm.
Mitch doesn't like me to
Mm.
say back, but you know what? Hey, have it, brother. He's gonna
Amen.
called me today. Actually, I've been getting phone calls. I told you that I kind of avoided a bunch of phone calls. I wasn't mentally ready yet because I've just
Right.
got so many things going on. And so I've been very, very careful about who I'm talking to because I know it's going to be a roller coaster, like I'll get out. And so,
Yep.
that tip for you guys that are watching this video is, especially if you're an executor like I am and you got so many plates spinning out of nowhere. So sort of keep yourself reined in because the emotions, they come and go and you never know when.
Hmm.
Take my
Yep.
word for it. All right, here we go.
Yep.
I will get through this episode. I will get through this episode. Brock Fletcher,
Yes, you will.
James Realty, another guy that we trust so much because he helped us with Big House Holt, Little House Lansing. I mean, without these two sponsors, with the Craig and with Brock, people that we really, really love and depend on, life is not only not brilliant, it's painful. And so you got to have these people in your life. And so the real estate side of things, one person I called was Brock because I didn't know what the hell to start doing with my dad's house.
Right.
I made the call to him and he gave me some advice on the phone. That's why you need to get his number down, 517-853-6408. Put this one in your speed dial though. 517-303-3262 is his cell phone. Text him, tell him you heard it from Tommy. He'll know it's radio. He'll get back to you right away. Anyway, this guy's the best guy checking his voicemail and changes his voicemail daily. You'll know when he's calling back because he'll say right in his voicemail greeting. So call that 303-3262 number, or you can go online to kwsellingteam.com, kwsellingteam.com. All of our friends and sponsors, especially our two sponsors, you can find their links on the bottom of our homepage, TomMattShow.com. At the bottom there's the banners for the guys. Click on those, away you go. Go on the subjects of and the topics of our radio program / podcast, and you'll see reality real estate. You'll see financial fitness, and go there. It doesn't cost you a dime. Just do your own due diligence with this stuff, everybody, because if you don't, things are going to come up. And then it's going to knock you sideways. And then you're going to say, gosh, I wish I would have listened to Tom on that radio show because he's sharing stuff is happening to us as we speak. We're going through this right now. That's why we need Craig. That's why we need Brock. And that's why it's so important to have the people that you trust. And I just, again, Brock Fletcher, 517-853-6408, 303-3262. That's 517. That's his cell phone. kwsellingteam.com. And I would be remiss if I didn't say, what up, Mike Deadman? Mikey, how are you? He was our buyer's agent for Little House Lansing. It's all good. Back to the show, Parents and Their Demise, process prep, based around my dad's recent death. And yes, it's been tough. And yes, it's continuing. It's getting better. Every day is a little bit better. But we got to talk about these things. And so, Craig, we're finishing up topics here. And then in the last segment, at the very end of the segment, you brought up a little bit of something that we talked about on the show before with elder abuse.
Yep.
Now, on the financial side of things, this can be very, very, very relevant. I mean, when we had our conversation last week, the first phone call I had since my dad's death, I've got people on me at my dad's service about his house. And you said you see this kind of stuff where people are, they're not waiting. That's why you got to document it, guys, because it's like a feeding frenzy. And it's like, just money, go ahead, Craig, please.
Well, two situations, right? Two situations. Like in your situation, you're looking at it, you have people within the neighborhood that recognize the value of the property and everything, and they want to be able to have a good connection, a good relationship with you and the family, and of course the dynamics of his neighbors. They respect them. They've had a lot of respect for him. In that same note, they want to say, all right, well, okay, now what are you going to do with the home, right? What's going to be the next step? And I remember that with my mother-in-law or my stepmom when she passed, right? She has this big house. My dad and her lived in it. It's a house that I grew up in, and so I'm the youngest of four kids. And growing up in this house, my stepmom has a child from a previous marriage. She wanted me move to be a little closer to him. What do you do at the home? Who do you sell it to? Do you sell it with family members? Do you sell it to just put it out on the open market? So that dynamic can change. There's kind of a balancing act that one has to deal with and provide some space for closure. And in most circumstances, like even in my mother-in-law's situation, not to make major decisions for about a year. I know you'll have some psychologists that you probably have talked to, that have, or psychiatrists, or whatever the dynamic might be, counselors that would be, don't make any major financial decisions or make any major transition or changes in your life for roughly about a year. Give it about a year. So this way you can get into the new dynamic and realize, what do you need, what do you not need. And our family worked like that with my mother-in-law in regards to, she just wanted to get rid of a lot of stuff. I want to sell this, I want to get this, I want to get this. I'm like, well, wait a minute. There's reasons why you have these locations. There's reasons why you have this stuff to begin with. And let's think of that to how important that is going to be for the family as a whole to carry out a continuous dream. And of course, several years later, I'm so glad I didn't do this. I'm so glad I didn't do that. And we just had to help her make decisions as to what to get rid of, what not to get rid of, and then what to donate to, what not to donate to, whatever the structure might be. And that, I think, has been one of the more telling parts. Like what you're highlighting, the aspect, money does make people do funny things, from the aspect of non-family members coming in to buy a house versus that of family members coming in to buy a house, and what that's going to mean, right? So, and that, I think the latter is going to be a little more delicate because of a family members coming in. You're like, okay, well, what does that mean? Is that a more favored? Maybe I wanted the house, right? Whatever the dynamic may be. And well, if you want that house, you gotta buy me out. So I want this part of the trust. So it becomes a completely different situation, especially um, if some of the stuff wasn't determined ahead of time. So fortunately, like amongst my brothers and sisters and I, with my father-in-law's passing, we weren't expecting anything. And my mother-in-law really took care of my father when he was passing. So like, we have no expectations, none whatsoever, and actually supported her through this whole process and continue to support her through it. And so with my mother-in-law, same dynamic. Both my wife and her sister are helping to take care of her in a wide variety of ways, making sure that she is and maintains and continues to be involved with our families and our children, as long as she can be. So truly blessed, but having all of that dynamic and understanding. And of course, I immediately started thinking about how different families I've worked with have handled things differently. Some positive, some not so positive. And I find myself different, to where I'm sitting here with the portfolio. I'll grab the portfolio, set it off to the side, and I'll say, okay, there's something else we need to talk about. So let's put it all on the table, get all of our concerns out, because money is not that important.
What was when you said not so positive? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it's just like struck me. You know how I am. I'm just a motor
Yep.
mouth. Um, just share just a generality with the listeners, because this stuff happens and it's happening to us right now. I'm telling you right now, there's some this is, I might write a whole book about this whole thing. But
Well,
go,
in my the similar situations where I'm more involved in, you'll have sibling rivalries that'll take place upon the passing of either the first spouse or the second spouse, where money starts to get distributed to the next generation. And some family members will have stronger affinities for some material items where others may not. And others may want to go off and just sell it, get rid of it. And the other's like, no, I want to hold on to it. And so now we have to come up with a situation where one sibling may not have the funds or resources to buy out the other sibling. How do you resolve those types of situations? So that way I'm like, all right, we need to deal with your personal relationships first before we start dealing with the monetary issues. Because if we don't get these personal relationships resolved and have some type of a level of arrangement or agreement, distribution of the assets are going to be more difficult going forward. And so that dynamic, I think, is where I talk about some of the negative pieces taking place.
makes
So
sense.
I mean,
Is
I
it,
don't want to, I mean, I could, there's certain details that I can get into, but it's tough because every situation is a little bit different. And I mean, others are more amicable, right? I had a client who had property in another state, and that family members had stronger affinity towards that. And then they had to come up and agree upon what would be the value of that property. Does the estate go and pay for an appraisal for that property? I mean, that would have to be done if we're going to sell and liquidate it. Or do you go with the state equalized value of what the property would say there? Or you guys just kind of negotiate what you think the value of the price might be. Just work with a local realtor to find out what the sale price might be. Then from that, one person gets the house or whatever the real estate is, and then the other person gets that value in the liquid assets going forward. And then can the person who's receiving the house afford to keep it and maintain it?
Okay, let's jump off there. I've got some questions. We're going to reset this thing. Craig Stiles is with us. Parents and their demise, process prep, financial fitness. This is very important. This is something that's occurring for Sandy and I, my family right now with my dad. And so we're going through the distribution of figuring everything out. Just again, I like what Craig said about taking a year. I need to get his money squared away so that
Yep.
I can, because if bills start coming in, I need to have funds to pay these bills. I need to
Yep.
make sure they're taken care of. You're listening to Tom Matt Show. Craig Stiles is here. This is really good. We're going to come back. We're going to do messages to our younger self with Craig right after this. And more. Blowing through this thing like nothing.
Kind of like hot knife through butter, right? Is that what you're saying?
It's just, I appreciate you. This really does help my healing process. And it's like, and I'm talking to the camera and I'm talking to Craig too here, everybody, but verbalizing all of this stuff, sharing it, being open with it, don't internalize. I'm
Mhm.
going to talking to the listener or the viewers now. Don't internalize this stuff. Find your people who are in your bubble, who help make you better, as I talk about in my videos, and go to them and they will help you. Don't be afraid to go to people and ask for their assistance and just advice and friendship and talking.
Mhm.
And got to avoid the phone call, but eventually you're going to have to make the phone call. And so, all right, here we go. Segment 5. Got all your stuff there? Your
All the
contact
stuff
info?
that I need. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Doing this radio program has been a blessing of my life. Like you guys just cannot believe. It's just brought me close to so many really smart people, and these topics we talk about. It's very therapeutic, and there's so many people that I have to thank for all of their just helping me learn this business. And Craig Stiles is one of them, and Dave DeMarco is the other one, and Brock and everybody that's been on the show so many times. Unbelievable. We start our 13th season here coming up pretty quickly, October of this year,
Wow.
and
It's been
we're
13 years.
rocking, baby. I mean, we got things happening on social media that's just kind of we're going to be an overnight success in 14 years. That's it. Okay, fine, great, cool. If we help you, excellent. How do people find you, Craig Stiles, to connect with you if they miss my sharing all your good info? And if you need me to do all the info, I got it right in front of me here because I know all your. You want to
The
shoot me?
easiest thing to find, the easiest way for people to find me on whatever device they have, quite frankly, is to search my name in Ameriprise and whatever search, whether it's Bing, Google, Yahoo, DuckDuckGo, whichever it is that they wish to utilize. If they just search my name, Craig Stiles, Stiles, and Ameriprise, they'll come up with my link, and then they can reach out to me that way. And that way, I'll provide and ask them particular questions, or you can input any information in regards to what they want to do. And we do have something that we're going to be looking into, if you will. A person will actually be able to see what my calendar's like. So if there's a time for them, they like to meet with me, there are going to be periods of time in which they could actually log in and schedule a time to meet. or schedule a phone call. So that is one option that is going to be made available here shortly as well. But they can call me directly at 517-483-4893, 517-483-4893. So from that perspective, it's going to make it a little easier for them to reach out to me and give me a call. But they can also just email me directly, craig.stiles@AMPF. That's Adam Michael Paul Frank.com. So Craig Stiles, CRAIG.STILES@AMPF.com.
There you go. AMPF.com, Ameriprise Financial. All right. Messages to our younger self. Craig's done this before, so he knows the drill here. Fun, and people enjoy this thing. And it goes along, kind of parallels with my dad talks that I put out there, which get a little bit salty, but you know what? That's on those other social media things. And so don't be shocked if you go there and you see Tom going off about something, because sometimes you got to get real. I mean, it's like,
Mhm.
Craig, message to your younger self in regards to this topic, perhaps, where would you like to go with a message to the younger people that you've learned? They say, hey, I could save somebody a lot of freaking you know, troubles, trials, and tribulations. Go right ahead. You know the drill. Please.
Well, I think the biggest thing, and you have to forgive me if I have one of my segments may have been similar to this or not, but understanding that there are truly two types of people in the world. You have those influencers, and you have those who are easily influenced. Neither one is right or wrong. Just as an influencer, you have to understand that you're going to influence people to do the right thing or the wrong thing. And as one who is easily influenced, you could be easily influenced to do the right thing or the wrong thing. Now, in each one of those situations, the commonality is understanding and knowing what is right and wrong, is what is guiding your conscience to know what is right and what is wrong. And so that for me, faith is what helps to guide me in understanding what the truth is, what is going to guide me in making my decisions, not only for myself, but for my family, as well as for my friends. And understanding how I'm being influenced by the environment that I find myself, and having the strength to be able to walk away from that environment makes me a person who at one point was influenced more easily, now becomes an influencer because of what I view that may be going against what my values are, to strengthen who I am, strengthen who my identity is, and makes me the better person that I'm called to do, not only for my family, for my kids, but for anyone who I come in contact with each and every day. So understand, if you are a person who is an influencer, or if you're a person who is easily influenced, understand that, but then have a strong foundation, knowing what is it that's guiding you to know what is right and what is wrong, and stick to that solid foundation.
You know, what you're saying is something I learned in my mental health journey. When you
Yep.
know how your mind works, then you can evaluate situations a heck of a lot better, because if before I knew how my brain was wired, some of the things, some of the reasons why I thought the way I did, Craig is exactly spot on, because I was easily influenced. I wanted to become an influencer. Things would make me a little, kind of crazy and doubting, and you wonder, but it's just when you go through therapy, you find your faith, you get with people who care about you and they can kind of peel it back. Mental health is so it's awesome. I mean, it's
Hmm.
just cognitive behavioral therapy, everybody, just talking to a professional who can take your thoughts and your words and process that and tell you what is happening is so it's so invaluable. So and
Yep.
especially in a situation like we're talking about today with today's topic, Craig, parents and their demise there is, I'm telling you guys, I, my dad was 85 plus years old. I knew it was eventuality, it was going to come, and I kept saying, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready. You're never
And it
ready.
happens, right?
You're just never
Yep.
ready.
Yep.
Okay, carry it for a minute so I can regroup my brain here, because it's, I've been good through the whole show, and then you touch waves, man, these waves.
Well, I mean, you sit there and think about it. You know, your dad was a strong influencer in your life. many
You,
respects, positive and negative, from that dynamic. My dad was a huge influence in me in my life. And it was kind of funny during my dad's memorial when we were sitting down and talking. My wasn't prepared to talk at his memorial, if you will. But my oldest sister Deb comes and sits down and basically came up to me and says, "Hey, do you want to say a few words at his funeral?" I'm like, sure. So my sister gets up and this is, after roughly about 45 minutes, half hour, 45 minutes, people consolidating or talking, aggregate together, if you will, socializing. So my sister kind of gets up and gets everybody to sit down and she gets up she says a few words. So what my sister does, she gets up, she has her note cards, and of course she was valedictorian of her class, star athlete, all this kind of stuff. Just a woman who's very well organized in everything she does. My situation, I kind of get up after she talks and says everything about her dad. I kind of get up and says, "Well, I think you all know who's the more organized one of the two of us is." I says, "So here I am. I have nothing more to share with you other than what comes from my heart." And so, from the dynamic of being able to talk with my dad and express how he's impacted myself and my siblings, even though it may have not been in a more traditional format, he's helped to guide each and every one of us to a faith in some form or another that helped us to guide our own decision makings going forward. So, having those individuals as influencers within our lives and the impact that they've had helped us to be influencers in our own lives, for our own children and for those around us. And understanding that influencer is not just a person who does a whole bunch of videos on TikToks in some form or another. They are more dynamic and more impactful for those who actually are involved in the lives. It's just, how is that influencer impacting your lives? Is it best to have one that's more local, that you see and have physical relationship with, if you will, versus that of one that's more virtual? And that, I think, is where you will get the most impact and understanding, is seeking those relationships out and having a platform such as what you have to help guide people and help them to understand that those relationships are where they're going to have the most impact in their local communities and in their local lives.
so when Craig's talking about impact, I want to kind of segue into I did a video about regret, and it was very, very emotional. And it was right after my dad's service, the day after. And I want to, because we're going to come up on the end of the show here, and I want to give Craig a chance to do a nice close. But I'm going to do this and say, if you got things you need to get squared away with people, get them squared away. I'm telling you, get them squared away. All right. Leave it there, because when it's done. And go watch my video on the regret thing, because it's, it's a decision you're going to make. It's a choice you're going to make, and you're going to have to live with that decision. So that's on you, and good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not judging anyone. I'm not here to judge anyone. I'm just giving you some advice from my perspective, because I've been through it. Craig, I
Mhm.
need to have close, please.
Okay, well, a couple of things that kind of lead into that, right? One of the comments, I think we talked about being able to talk to our younger selves. Is there anything that I would have changed in my life, when I was younger? And I have to say no. And it's not because I'm being boastful by any stretch. I wouldn't be the person I am today if I didn't make mistakes, or if I didn't be who I was, discuss and influence, no matter what that word was. So having to deal with the regret in some form or another. But I do agree with the fact of reconciling with those in your lives today. Just from the dynamic of having my dad, trying to get him to be more involved in my family's life was difficult, but I loved my dad regardless. So one of the things that I've always shared with him and told him was, when I would hang up the phone with him, "I love you, Dad. I love you too, son." And then it started. And so from that dynamic, it worked out well.
Got through it.
So we did.
Our show
We
fits your
did.
business mission. We want to be of service to you through our guests, like a Craig Styles. Go to Ameriprise, check out the website. Please, if you need some help with that kind of stuff, just go there. Always remember, before you can share love with others, you must love yourself first. Thanks to Craig Styles for being with us, Sandy, Matt, Craig, Brock, and the legend himself, Mitch. Anderson, executive producer of the Tom Matt Show. Tom Matt Show is a production of Boomers Rock Media. We want to bring your story to life. Thank you so much for joining us. It is what it is. Peace out.
Peace out, Tom. You did it, man. Good job. High five.
Yeah, thanks, brother. It's just only had a couple moments, which is way better than I thought. So, hey, but you were still recording video, and it's because we do the video that you get to get all this behind the scenes stuff. This is real, everybody. This is real freaking deal. All right.
Yep.
So, and what I said about Craig and not opening the emails to check my statements, that's true. That happened. This was before my dad's demise. And so it's just so reassuring. Because I knew in my heart, not that you don't need to check these things. Of course you probably should. I don't feel like I need. That's my decision. All right. I'm not living with regret. I'm looking forward to the thing. I have trust in the people that I deal with, and that's it. So if you put that doubt aside, it makes your life so much easier.
Yep.
So when you have doubt, you're always going to have that question in the back of your mind. Right,
Yep.
Craig?
Yep. You
When
do.
you put the doubt aside and you just be true and be you and be honest and be forthright and just help people get better. Period. So thanks, brother. Anything else you say before we drop you out of here and I do my last couple seconds of
No, I think from this dynamic, I think it was a good touch, in regards to kind of address some of the personal stuff that we've had to deal with loved ones in our own lives and how we've handled it. And I think some of that real life type stuff kind of will be beneficial for those who are watching and those who choose to watch. So it's life.
Well, it is life. And I feel like we could have covered more. I had written down the professionals and I wanted to get into Katie and Linwood, but and I the guy down in Detroit Wayne County. I mean, I need somebody in Wayne County. I need somebody that knows. Need somebody that knows the ropes down there. Katie advised me on that, and she was right. And so that's been a good thing. Just keep that in mind, everybody. That whatever county that your person had been living in, their residence. Probably is going to be where you're going to have to figure things out. So that adds another wrinkle to things. So there's just a lot. So
there is. My pleasure, Tom.
See you, man. Have a great day.
I will. You as well.
I love you.
I love you too, Tom. Take care, man. Bye-bye now.
Yeah, that was tough. Had to be done. Helps me. Hope it helps you. Hope you watch this. Hope you like this, because it's like our show is real. I mean, it's unscripted. It is what it is. And yeah, man. Craig's house is the bomb. Brock's the bomb. You guys are the bomb. So thank you so much. I appreciate you. Peace out. Bye, Dad.